couple of little things I found that are slightly annoying when doing a third gen, taking it apart, and just some general observations. So, the one thing that gave me a lot of grief, the entire harness has to come out through this hole in the frame. That entire thing, this little hole, it took a little while. That was a little harder than I had expected. So on the second gen you have, or on the first gen you have a couple of spots like that, but you don't need to pull half the harness through it. So that's one thing. Another thing that's a little annoying for maintenance or pulling a motor or anything else, your coolant hose runs through the frame. So in order to pull the motor, even if I wanted to leave the radiator on the motor, I still have to disconnect the coolant hose. So that's something that's slightly more annoying. Now here's a cool little thing that they did do. The tank mounts are part of the frame. They're not their own little bracket. So that's one fewer part that I have to, lose or whatever. Then a couple more things that I'm not quite sure what the decision was. This kickstand on the third gen. The kickstand is bolted to the frame. So that basically means that any bend that you get there's no bracket that it can tweak. It's going to tweak either the frame or the kickstand itself. So not sure if that was a good decision or a bad decision on their part, but it is a difference. Then the harness, it's a lot like a second gen, but there are about 1 billion sensors on the airbox, so there was a lot of unplugging and plugging things and moving things and trying to fish things through. I wanted to do a video of how to pull it out, but by the time I got it pulled out, I was so pissed off at it that I didn't see myself putting it back in just to make a video, especially through that little hole. Then a couple of things that are bizarre to me. There is no helmet hook. I guess Suzuki decided that enough bodywork was getting damaged with people riding around with their helmets strapped to the seat, but for whatever reason there's no helmet hook. The other thing that I wasn't crazy about is it still uses a regular rectifier. It's giant, but it's not a MOSFET, so, or I don't think it's a MOSFET. It doesn't look like it has any brains with it. So Suzuki went, oh yeah, everybody's rectifiers fry. Okay, what do we do? Well, let's just make a giant one. So that's interesting. If it is a MOSFET and I'm stupid, well, I'm stupid either way, but if it's a MOSFET, let me know and I'll add a comment to the video. But otherwise, they're not that different from first and second gens as far as assembly goes. A few minor differences here and there about how things happen, but mostly it's still a pretty typical SV. I'm sure as I find more things. Oh yeah, here's another thing I noticed. There's no flash to pass button. On second gens, there's this little yellow blinker thing, and on the right control pod, there's no four-way flasher anymore. So here's a control pod. There's no four-way. I mean, not the most useful feature anyway, but it is something that is nice to have. But of course, they kept the drain your battery setting on the ignition. So there's that. I don't know why that exists. I have never found a use for it. All that has ever happened is somebody leaves it on and drains the battery. Anyway, so just a couple of quick thoughts on the third gen topic.